I hope it actually sends out a strong message, and that is that abuse cannot be tolerated on any level, and when it first arises, action has to be taken, because as we saw with Mr. Feland, he was a serial abuser. No one in his family stopped him. There were restraining orders against him. They didn't restrain him. I hope it sends a strong message.
In the serene town of Glendon, Alberta, the facade of tranquility shattered when Debbie Doonanco, a former teacher, found herself entangled in a web of deceit, violence, and ultimately, murder. At the core of this unsettling saga lay the turbulent relationship between Debbie and her husband, Kevin Feland. Their marriage, though outwardly appearing typical, was far from it. Behind closed doors, it was plagued by allegations of abuse and emotional turmoil. On May 25, 2014, the simmering tensions erupted into a fatal confrontation. Debbie, in a moment of desperation, admitted to shooting her husband, Kevin, claiming it was an act of self-defense. As the details of the incident emerged, so too did the troubling history of abuse that had long festered within their relationship. Testimony revealed a pattern of coercion, manipulation, and physical violence inflicted upon Debbie by her husband, painting a picture of a marriage steeped in fear and suffering. The subsequent legal proceedings would thrust Debbie into the spotlight, where she faced charges of second-degree murder. The courtroom became a stage for a gripping drama, where the prosecution painted Debbie as a cold-blooded killer, while her defense team argued vehemently for recognition of her victimhood and the mitigating circumstances surrounding the fatal encounter. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury would render their verdict, yet many questions would remain. What systemic failures allowed the cycle of abuse to persist unchecked? What resources were available to Debbie to seek help or support for her struggles? How can society better recognize and respond to the complexities of intimate partner violence? How can we ensure that victims, like Debbie, are supported and empowered to seek help before it's too late? As we seek today to make sense of the senseless, the case of Debbie Doonanco serves as a sobering reminder of the insidious nature of domestic violence and the devastating toll it can exact. Beyond the confines of the courtroom, it stands as a call to action for greater awareness, empathy, and intervention in the fight against domestic abuse. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Memento Mori Stories. I'm Ella Favela, your host and partner in crime when it comes to exploring the dark and twisted aspects of human nature. If you're all about coffee, creativity, horror, and true crime, then you've found your people right here. Whether you're a regular listener or you're just dropping in for the first time, I'm thrilled to have you join us. So grab a seat and let's dive into a landlocked narrative dying to be considered. Before we jump into the stories, however, here's a little tip. If you're into mind-bending tales that challenge your perspective and make you think a little differently, hitting the subscribe button and ringing the bell is a no-brainer. I post new videos bi-weekly, and I'd be honored to have you join me in the shadows. And hey, if you're curious about what goes on behind the scenes of my life, come hang out with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We've got some exciting things happening over there, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. You'll find all my social links right here on screen, and they're clickable down below. And a little treat for my Instagram family, become my 250th follower at Memento Mori Art, and you'll snag a custom painting by yours truly, shipped directly to your front door, completely free of charge. It's my way of saying thank you for your support and for being a part of our community. I'd also like to offer a heads up. We're diving into some heavy topics like domestic violence, assault, and the intricate legal framework surrounding them. These topics can be quite weighty to process, so if you're feeling uneasy or if it hits too close to home, it's absolutely fine to take a breather today. Your well-being is my priority here. If you're grappling with these issues firsthand, or you're carrying the burden of past trauma, please know that you're not alone. You have some choices. You can opt to skip this segment, you can share it with someone you trust, and you can even seek support from a professional. In the description down below, you'll see that I've gathered some resources and links for you that could be helpful. It's important to me to underscore that my aim isn't to sensationalize or to exploit the darker facets of human experience. We're here to shed light on them, to foster empathy, and to gain some understanding for each other. By openly discussing these topics, we aim to break down barriers and reduce stigma, paving the way for healing on both a personal and societal level. This particular story hits me very deeply, as I remember watching it all unfold in the news. I grew up about 500 kilometers or 300 miles from where it all took place in Calgary. So, without further ado, let's explore the dire tale of Debbie Doonanco and her brave fight for justice against the man she once loved.
Rough-hewn mountains to wind-washed prairies. Cultivated farmland to untamed forest. Wildlife to wildlife. People of every interest and background work and play in a landscape as diverse as we are. We are Albertans, and this is our home.
This is the spirit of Alberta.
Small-town Alberta embodies a sense of community, where neighbors know each other by name, and everyone's business is everybody's concern. Life moves at a slower pace, with tight-knit social circles and a strong connection to tradition and heritage. The landscape is dominated by vast prairies and rolling foothills, providing a backdrop of natural beauty that fosters a sense of closeness among its residents. People take pride in their town's history and tradition, with local events and festivals serving as important opportunities for community bonding. Overall, small-town Alberta is characterized by its sense of familiarity, camaraderie, and just a simpler way of life. Just west of Bonnyville, up further north than Edmonton and even St. Paul, lay the tranquil town of Glendon, Alberta. The community has the maiden name of an early postmaster's mother and, as of the 2021 census, a population of just 338 people. In 1993, the town unveiled its roadside tribute to the pierogi. Their giant pierogi, complete with fork, is 7.6 meters, or just under 25 feet, in height, and stands as a well-loved addition to Alberta's kitschy series of giant roadside attractions, lovingly known as the Giants of the Prairies. Debbie Doonanco was a familiar face among this tight-knit community. As a former teacher, she was known for her dedication to her students and her warm demeanor that endeared her to many. Raised in Glendon, Debbie's journey mirrored that of many small-town residents, rooted in familiarity and community. A pillar of the local education system, her passion for teaching was evident in her interactions with students and colleagues alike. Her classroom was a place of learning, creativity, and compassion, where she nurtured young minds and fostered a love of knowledge. Outside of her professional life, Debbie was seen as a devoted wife to her husband, Kevin Feland. Their relationship, at least from the outside, appeared harmonious, reflecting the image of a couple deeply committed to each other and their community. Despite the appearance of normalcy, whispers of discord would occasionally surface, hinting at underlying tension within their marriage. However, Debbie maintained a facade of stoicism, projecting an image of strength and resilience even in the face of adversity. To those who knew her, Debbie was a familiar presence, a beloved teacher, a supportive spouse, and an integral part of the fabric of Glendon. Yet, beneath this facade of stability lay a woman grappling with her own inner turmoil and the complexities of her personal life, a reality which would soon come to light in ways that no one could have anticipated. Kevin Feland, a prominent figure in the small town of Glendon, was known for his affable demeanor and outgoing personality. Born and raised in the community, Kevin was deeply ingrained in its fabric, with roots that ran generations deep. He was the epitome of the hometown hero, a beloved member of the community who could always be counted on for a helping hand or a friendly smile. In his younger years, Kevin was a standout athlete, known for his prowess on the football field and the ice rink. His competitive spirit and natural talent earned him respect and admiration from peers and rivals alike. Despite his athletic success, Kevin remained humble and approachable, never letting his achievements go to his head. As he grew older, Kevin transitioned into a career that mirrored his outgoing nature, finding success in sales and business ventures. His charismatic charm and natural ability to connect with others made him a natural fit for the world of commerce, where he thrived in roles which required him to be outgoing and persuasive. In his personal life, Kevin was seen as a devoted husband to his wife Debbie. Their relationship, while not without its challenges, was viewed as a strong and stable partnership by those around them. Together, they were a familiar presence, a couple who seemed to embody the ideals of small-town happiness and contentment. However, beneath the surface of Kevin's seemingly idyllic life lay a darker side, one characterized by volatility and aggression. Rumors of his temper occasionally circulated throughout the town, hinting at a side of Kevin that few were privy to witness. Despite these whispers, Kevin remained a respected figure in Glendon, his flaws obscured by his charming exterior and the loyalty of those who knew him best. At first glance, Debbie and Kevin's marriage seemed like a picture-perfect union. Their relationship was one that many envied, a bond built on shared history, mutual respect, and a deep love that had stood the test of time. They were often seen attending community events together, supporting each other's endeavors, and sharing moments of laughter and affection. Theirs was a partnership rooted in companionship and shared experience, with each seemingly complementing the other's strengths and weaknesses. Debbie's nurturing nature and unwavering support served as a steady anchor for Kevin, providing him with the stability and comfort he craved in a partner. In turn, Kevin's outgoing personality and charm brought a sense of vibrancy and excitement to Debbie's life, enriching their relationship with shared adventures and new experiences. Together, they navigated the ups and downs of life in a small town, facing challenges with resilience and determination. Their bond appeared unbreakable, a testament to the power of love and commitment in overcoming adversity. For Debbie, the signs of trouble would emerge gradually, like cracks spreading across a fragile facade. Instances of verbal berating and belittling remarks from Kevin became increasingly frequent, eroding her sense of self-worth and confidence. Simple disagreements escalated into heated arguments, with Kevin's temper flaring at the slightest provocation. Physical violence soon followed, leaving Debbie bruised and battered both physically and emotionally. In one harrowing incident recounted during Debbie's trial, Kevin grabbed her by the throat, choking her until she feared for her life. The bruises left behind served as a painful reminder of the danger lurking within the walls of their home. Despite the abuse, Debbie struggled to break free from the toxic cycle of violence that had ensnared her. Fearful of retaliation and ashamed of the situation she found herself in, she remained trapped, isolated, and alone. Kevin's manipulation tactics only served to further entrench Debbie in her predicament. Gaslighting and psychological coercion became tools of control, leaving Debbie questioning her own reality and doubting the validity of her experience. With each passing day, the walls closed in around her, suffocating any hope of escape. As the abuse intensified, Debbie found herself teetering on the brink of despair, unsure of how to extricate herself from the nightmare which had become her reality. It was in this maelstrom of fear and anguish that she made the fateful decision to take matters into her own hands, a decision that would forever alter the course of her life and the lives of those around her. On the morning of May 25, 2014, the countryside peace was shattered by a tragic event that would reverberate throughout the community. Emerging from her bedroom after a sleepless night, Debbie was met with an eerie silence in her Glendon home. Her partner, Kevin, had been smoking crack cocaine throughout the evening, and tensions simmered beneath the surface as she approached him in the living room. As she confronted Kevin about his behavior, she found herself faced with a chilling ultimatum: leave or die. Terrified of his anger, Debbie felt a surge of fear as Kevin reached for a rifle that lay on the coffee table. In a split-second decision born out of desperation, she grabbed the gun and fired, the sound of the gunshot shattering the quiet of the morning. Kevin fell back on the couch, injured but still alive. Fearing for her life, Debbie fired again before fleeing the house in a panic. In shock and disbelief at what had just transpired, she hid the rifle under a shed in her yard before returning to the house with a can of gasoline. Feeling overwhelmed and desperate to end the brutal cycle which consumed her, Debbie set fire to the house, hoping to attract attention and assistance. In her state of distress, she was unsure of Kevin's condition and acted out of a primal instinct for survival. As the chaos unfolded around her, Debbie grappled with a whirlwind of emotion: fear, confusion, and disbelief. Her actions, fueled by desperation and terror, painted a stark picture of a woman pushed to her breaking point by years of abuse and torment. In recounting the events of that morning, Debbie offered a glimpse into the harrowing realities of intimate partner violence and the profound impact it can have on those caught in its grip. The aftermath of the shooting sent shockwaves through the community, leaving its residents reeling from the sudden and seemingly senseless loss of life. Debbie's actions were met with scrutiny and disbelief as friends and acquaintances struggled to reconcile the image of the quiet, unassuming teacher with that of a woman capable of such violence. As the details of the incident emerged, so too did the complex web of emotions and circumstances that had led Debbie to take such drastic action. Testimony from witnesses and forensic evidence presented during the trial provided a glimpse into the tumultuous nature of Debbie and Kevin's relationship, shedding light on the years of abuse and torment she had endured. Throughout the legal proceedings, Debbie maintained that she had acted in self-defense, driven to desperation by the relentless abuse inflicted upon her by Kevin. Her defense team argued vehemently for the recognition of her victimhood and the mitigating circumstances surrounding the fatal encounter, while prosecutors sought to paint her as a cold-blooded killer motivated by malice. In the aftermath of the tragic events which unfolded, Debbie Doonanco found herself thrust into the spotlight of a high-profile trial. Charged with second-degree murder, arson, and committing an indignity to human remains, Debbie faced a daunting legal battle that would ultimately determine her fate. During the trial, which captivated the attention of the community and garnered widespread media coverage, prosecutors presented a compelling case against Debbie. Drawing on witness testimony, forensic evidence, and Debbie's own admissions, the prosecution painted a damning picture of a calculated and premeditated act of violence. Central to the prosecution's case was Debbie's own confession to the shooting, in which she admitted to firing the fatal shots which claimed the life of her husband, Kevin. Her account of the events, delivered through tears on the witness stand, provided a chilling glimpse into the chaos and terror which had unfolded on that fateful morning. In addition to her confession, prosecutors highlighted the presence of gasoline at the scene of the crime, a key piece of evidence which suggested a deliberate attempt to conceal the crime and destroy the evidence. Debbie's decision to set fire to the house, they argued, was indicative of a conscious effort to cover up her actions and to evade accountability. As the trial progressed, Debbie's defense team sought to challenge the prosecution's narrative, emphasizing her history of abuse and the mitigating circumstances surrounding the shooting. Testimony from expert witnesses and character witnesses all painted a portrait of a woman driven to desperation by years of torment and fear. Despite the efforts of her defense team, the jury ultimately delivered their verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. The decision sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents stunned and saddened by the tragic outcome of the trial. For Debbie, the guilty verdict marked the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter defined by incarceration and the weight of her actions. As she awaited sentencing, she grappled with the profound implications of her choices and the irreversible consequences of that fateful morning in May. Following her conviction for second-degree murder, Debbie Doonanco's legal battle extended to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of Canada. In a landmark decision that captured national attention, the Supreme Court grappled with the complex legal and moral questions at the heart of Debbie's case. At the crux of the appeal was the question of whether or not Debbie's actions constituted self-defense in the face of imminent danger, an argument central to her defense throughout the trial. Her legal team argued vehemently for recognition of her victimhood and the mitigating circumstances surrounding the shooting, emphasizing the history of abuse and trauma she had endured at the hands of her husband, Kevin Feland. In the case of R. versus Doonanco, the Supreme Court of Canada grappled with the legal complexities surrounding intimate partner violence and self-defense. The appellant, Debbie Doonanco, was already convicted of second-degree murder in connection with the shooting death of her husband, Kevin Feland. Throughout her legal battle, however, Doonanco maintained that she acted in self-defense, driven to act by years of abuse and fear at the hands of her husband. The Supreme Court's decision focused on the interpretation and application of the legal principles governing self-defense in cases of intimate partner violence. In a landmark ruling, the court examined the evidence presented at the trial, including Doonanco's confession and the circumstances surrounding the shooting. Ultimately, the Supreme Court upheld the conviction, ruling that the trial judge had properly instructed the jury on the law of self-defense, and that there was sufficient evidence to support the guilty verdict. The court's decision underscored the complexities of self-defense claims in cases of domestic violence, highlighting the need for careful consideration of the unique dynamics and power imbalances inherent in abusive relationships. The final ruling in R. versus Doonanco sparked widespread debate and discussion about the legal treatment of victims of intimate partner violence and the challenges faced by survivors when seeking justice through the legal system. It serves as a powerful reminder of the urgent need for greater awareness, empathy, and support for those trapped in abusive relationships, as well as the importance of nuanced legal frameworks which account for the complexities of domestic violence cases.
The Alberta Council of Women's Shelters says domestic violence is at a 10-year high, leading more women and children needing to seek out a safe space. Marian Valdez-Carletti has more now on how shelters have had to turn people away and the impact it has on the women using them.
For Nora and her 2 children, this simple suite at an Edmonton women's shelter has been a safe home since escaping an abusive situation.
I don't have like that fear like before, but now I feel like really power, really like not scared.
We're calling her Nora to protect her and her children's identity. Since arriving at the shelter, Nora says she's been able to pursue her education and driver's license while gaining self-confidence.
I always like have that power beside me, but when you live with someone toxic, you lost everything. You feel like you doubt.
Other women in similar situations don't have a safe place to go. The Alberta Council of Women's Shelters says over the last 10 years, 30,000 requests for help had to be turned down.
It's not safe psychologically to answer a phone every day and tell people no, and know and hear that absolute panic on the other end of the line.
In Alberta, domestic violence statistics paint a troubling picture, with rates of intimate partner violence consistently significantly higher than the national average. I'm living proof of these figures, as is Ms. Doonanco and countless others. According to data from Statistics Canada, Alberta consistently ranks among the provinces with the highest rates of domestic violence per capita in Canada. One contributing factor to the prevalence of domestic violence in Alberta is the province's demographics and social dynamics. Alberta's resource-driven economy, characterized by boom and bust cycles in industries such as oil and gas, often exacerbates stress and financial strain within families, increasing the risk of conflict and violence. Moreover, the transient nature of employment in these industries can disrupt social support networks and exacerbate feelings of isolation among individuals experiencing abuse. Additionally, Alberta's vast geographical expanse and dispersed population present unique challenges for law enforcement and support services in addressing domestic abuse. Remote and rural communities may lack access to essential resources, including shelters and counseling services, leaving victims with limited options for seeking help and protection. Furthermore, cultural and societal attitudes towards gender roles and relationships may contribute to a normalization of violence and inhibit victims from coming forward to report abuse. Despite efforts to improve the response to domestic violence, significant gaps remain in Alberta's law enforcement and justice systems. Victims often face barriers to accessing support and protection, including inadequate funding for victim services, lengthy court delays, and a lack of specialized training for law enforcement officers and prosecutors handling domestic violence cases. Furthermore, systemic issues such as victim-blaming attitudes and a focus on punishment rather than rehabilitation for perpetrators can further deter victims from seeking help and discourage them from pursuing legal recourse. Hell, I moved across the country to protect myself, as the courts took my abuser's word that he wouldn't harm me anymore during an appeal as a valid reason not to extend my emergency protection order. Most of my closest female friends back home have at least one horror story of being wholly and completely failed by the Alberta police, justice, and/or social systems. I have friends right now who are actively fighting for their lives as I type this. We're not the outliers either. This is a global symphony of women, desperate to be heard and taken seriously. This is my modus operandi. Things need to change. But how can we do that? Creating meaningful change to truly address domestic violence globally requires a coordinated effort across multiple fronts, including policy reform, community engagement, and cultural shifts. Here's just a few key strategies that I feel we could all stand to consider. First, investing in prevention and education. Implementing comprehensive education and prevention programs in schools, workplaces, and communities to raise awareness about the dynamics of domestic violence, to promote healthy relationships, and to challenge harmful attitudes and stereotypes. These programs should target individuals of all ages and backgrounds, emphasizing the importance of consent, respect, and equality in all relationships. Next, there's enhancing support services. Increasing funding and resources for victim support services, including shelters, counseling, legal aid, and crisis hotlines. Ensuring that these services are accessible, culturally sensitive, trauma-informed, and address the diverse needs of survivors, including those from marginalized communities. Following that, we can strengthen law enforcement and justice system responses, providing specialized training for law enforcement officers, prosecutors, and judges on the dynamics of domestic violence, trauma-informed approaches, and the barriers faced by survivors when they seek help and try to access justice. Implementing protocols and procedures to prioritize the safety and the well-being of survivors, to hold perpetrators accountable, and ultimately to prevent re-victimization. In order to make that feasible, we need to improve data collection and research, investing in comprehensive data collection and research to better understand the root causes and prevalence of domestic violence, including its intersectionality with factors such as gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status. Using this data to inform policy and program development will help us to identify gaps in services and to better measure the efficacy of interventions. Then, we can promote community collaboration and accountability, fostering partnerships between government agencies, nonprofit organizations, businesses, faith communities, and other stakeholders to better coordinate efforts and resources when addressing domestic violence. Encouraging bystander intervention training and community-based initiatives that empower individuals to recognize and intervene in situations of abuse will encourage survivors to come forward. Additionally, we can continue to challenge societal norms and attitudes, challenging cultural norms and attitudes that perpetuate gender inequality, condone violence, and blame victims for their experiences. We can also promote positive masculinity and healthy expressions of power, and support campaigns which challenge stereotypes and promote gender equality and social justice. Following that very naturally, we can support survivors' voices and advocacy, amplifying the voices of survivors of domestic abuse and centering their experiences in advocacy efforts and policy discussions, providing opportunities for survivors to share their stories, to access peer support networks, and to engage in activism to better drive systemic change and hold institutions accountable. By adopting a comprehensive and collaborative approach which addresses the root causes of domestic abuse, while prioritizing survivor safety and empowerment, we work towards creating a future where all individuals can live free from fear and violence in their homes and communities. If you are experiencing domestic abuse, it's important to know that you're not alone and that help is available. Your safety and well-being are paramount. Reach out to your trusted friends, your family members, or to support organizations for assistance. Consider creating a safety plan to help you navigate the challenges of leaving an abusive situation and accessing resources. Remember that you deserve to live free from fear and that there are people who care about your safety and who want to help you. You have the right to seek support and to pursue a life free from abuse. There are a myriad of resources and helpful links that I've curated for you in the description box of this video. I personally used these services when I was leaving my abuser, and I encourage you to explore your options. You can do this. I completely believe in you. As we bid farewell to this chapter, let us carry forward the lessons learned and continue the fight against domestic violence in all of its forms. Together, we can strive to create a world where everybody feels safe, valued, and empowered to live free from fear. The painting I've been working on today is the first ever pet memorial commission I've been entrusted with, and it's been my honor and privilege to put her image to paper for my dear friend. Abby was the bestest girl, and I'm grateful to have been tasked with this literal memento mori. At the time of recording, March 4th, 2024, I've only just begun. As of now, I've completed only the sketch and about a third of the preliminary ink work, so I have no idea how long the whole thing will take me, but I'm into it just over 10 hours now between the concept and design to the line work. It's 9 by 12 inches and will be composed of some combination of watercolor and gouache paints, Posca pen, India ink, and gilding foils on 300 GSM 140-pound cold-pressed block. It will not be available for sale. However, many of my other original works are, and my books are currently open to custom commissioned work as well. Additionally, I have an incredibly limited number of prints still available for purchase. These are 9 by 12 inches on archival quality cardstock, and they go for $35 Canadian each or $50 for two. I ship for free across Canada, but I am happy to ship globally for a nominal fee as well. I am also opening my books to offer graphic design and branding consultations for serious clients. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please send an email to hello@stageleftproject.ca. If you believe in the power of conversation, in dismantling the silence which shrouds domestic abuse, and in fostering empathy, then I invite you to be a part of the Memento Mori Stories community. Subscribe to our channel to stay engaged with thought-provoking stories, discussions, and creative expressions. Together, we can be a force for awareness, understanding, and healing. Your subscription is not just a click. It's a pledge to be a part of a movement which embraces the power of storytelling to bring about positive change. Remember, every voice matters, and yours can be a catalyst for good. Subscribe, share, and let's continue this journey together. Remember, one day you will die, but for now, live well. Ciao for now.